What do you think? Is hearing that your antique item is worth thousands of dollars the best feeling ever? Let's see how these people reacted. Even though her sons gave her grief for buying things from yard sales, she still went ahead to buy these prints that caught her eye. The person who sold the prints to her for merely $25 must have been oblivious to their tremendous value. All of the prints she bought were part of a New Republic portfolio in 1924 called Six American Etchings. Although she was missing one, she still had the ones by notable artists like Edward Hopper, Kenneth Hayes Miller, John Marin, Ernest Haskell, and Peggy Bacon. Each print was valued ranging from a few $100s to as high as
And at auction, you're looking $30,000 to $50,000.
cumulative value for the prints was $45,000 to $75,000.
Crazy. Absolutely crazy.
Are your kids going to give you grief after this?
No, they better not.
Of course not. They might even begin to frequent the yard sale after this. We can only imagine how long it took to paint the figures on this charming biscuit jar. The guest received the jar as a gift from a friend. Initially conflicted by its actual origin, it was revealed to her on the show that it was made by an American company, Mount Washington, that produced glass jars during the 19th century.
It was created by Albert Steffen, who was the head of Mount Washington.
The type of jar brought to the show was known as Napoli. It had paintings that was based on the drawing in a book by Palmer Cox. The remarkable thing about this is that the paintings were done on the inside of the jar, which must have been a lot of work. Here's the appraiser's thoughts on its value.
In terms of value, something like this at auction could easily bring between $4,000 and $6,000.
Oh my word. I had no idea. That's great. Thank you.
Who says nuns can't collect ethnographic art? When she worked as a flight attendant, she went shopping in Ghana after one of her buyovers and bought an Ashanti comb from a woman in the market. But unfortunately, it wasn't an original piece. The Ashanti comb was meant to be worn on the hair by women who were seeking to conceive. Her second item, which she bought in Indianapolis, also appeared to be a reproduction. However, it was original. It was a Costa Rican figure dating back to as far as 1000 AD.
Some of it is abraded, which is something you'd expect. We would probably be abraded if we lived that long.
Her Ashanti comb, which she bought for $10, valued at $20 to $30, while the Costa Rican figure,
This piece at a good auction or a gallery would be $150 to $250.
Not bad return.
unlike his grandfather and father, who were professional wrestlers, the guest doesn't have the slightest skill for it. His grandfather was the professional wrestler Orville Brown, who won several championship belts in his wrestling days.
In this photo?
Yes.
Yeah, that's your grandfather there, right?
Right.
And this shows that he won in 1940. The loser does not look real happy.
On the Roadshow, the guest showcased the National Wrestling Alliance Championship belt, which was first won by Brown in 1948. Among other items which the guest brought in were several photos of his grandfather during his wrestling career and the car crash that sadly put an end to his career. The collection of items were valued at $3,000 to $10,000. A kid living close to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway experienced a lot of car races and even met some of the racers.
And while my dad was doing his tax return at our kitchen table, I said, "Pat, I've got my soapbox derby out in the garage. Would you like to come and see it?"
His childhood connection to the speed race made him bid on this racing flag at auction. The flag was signed by 31 out of the 33 drivers of the 1958 Indianapolis 500, and also by some racing dignitaries and former winners. Two prominent signatures on it were that of the race winner Jimmy Bryan and the racer that tragically died during the race, Pat O'Connor. Putting his expectation for the flag at $4,000, the guest was moved to hear that its value is up to $10,000.
Wonderful.
Only the key of this box alone is enough weight to carry around, not to talk about the metal box itself. The guest used the box as a suitcase when he went to Sweden after World War I. It was made in 1775, and according to the appraiser, that was very late for boxes of this design. The design on the box, which was in the Rococo style, was made with iron and beaten out with a hammer to form the shape.
This is the best I've ever seen. It's the most amusing and very decorative.
As a box from the late 18th century with such a charming design, it got valued at 10 to 15,000 pounds.
It's good. It's lovely, isn't it?
Yes.
As payment, the guest father-in-law got these figures for helping some Jewish people get out of Italy during World War II. The figures were made after the characters of the Old Testament, David, Moses, and Elijah. With no evident date on the figures, the time of their creation was unknown. So also, the Chinese writing but European style made it difficult to determine whether it was made for Christians in China or Europe. Nevertheless, the figures were made by the Chinese using glass and a copper base.
They are tremendously exciting because the Chinese themselves very, very rarely produced figures, let alone European figures. And I have to say that I have never seen anything like these before.
Their value was placed at
10 and 20,000 pounds or 100 and 200,000 Swedish krona.
How old do you think these figures could be? Drop your guesses in the comments. American poet Walt Whitman took to writing letters on behalf of injured soldiers after he experienced the ills of Civil War and what it did to them.
He saw the amputations, the wounding, he saw the destruction, and he immediately wanted to help.
The guest came in with one of the letters Whitman had written. It was written to her mother's third great-grandfather by a man named Albion, who unfortunately passed away 10 days after it was written. For as long as she could remember, the letter remained in her family and was passed on to younger generations. Because letters like this were from family, many people didn't think much of it and discarded them. After reading, however, the letter's association with the prolific poet made it very valuable.
I would say that a collector would easily pay in the $8,000 to $12,000 retail range.
Gosh, that's wild.
She had a feeling that the furniture she bought from a friend was special. But were they really that special? They were made around the late 19th century by one of the leading furniture-making companies in American history, Wakefield Rattan Company. The furniture was made with rattan, which was first used as packing material for ships until people discovered their potential to be used as furniture. Some parts of the furniture had some slight damage, but this didn't affect the value in any way. And although the appraiser was unsure if she would get back the money to repair the furniture, he advised that she restore them to maintain good shape. Her $300 purchase reaped huge profit with their value of
A $5,000 retail price would not be out of the question.
Joe Fortenberry, the captain of the first Olympics basketball team to represent America in 1936, was the father of this man, who brought in some of his basketball items, including his jersey, trophy, and Olympics card.
This was the true short shorts. 38-inch legs hanging out of them.
Joe Fortenberry played in the AAU, which was the league preceding the NBA. His career spanned for years with several wins, like gold medal in the 1936 Summer Olympics and an AAU national championship in 1940. The entire teams on the show got valued at $5,250 to $9,250.
Wow. That surprises me for these.
Is this a piece of glass or metal? Comment your guesses, and let's see who gets it. A friend of the lady bought this piece from a man who wanted to convert it to a lampstand, but realized it would be impossible without causing damage to it. Good thing he didn't, because the piece underwent a lot of processes to come out looking as charming as it is. Techniques like blowing, acid etching, and firing were all carried out during the manufacturing process.
This is not wax, this is a sort of a metallic oxide, because it's then gone back into a furnace and it's been fired at a critical temperature to get this sort of metallic iridescent surface.
The maker was unknown, but the style of the piece looked Austrian. A 1-pound purchase ended up becoming a 400 to 500-pound piece.
Yes.
Right.
So it was a good deal anyway.
It was a good deal.
Yeah.
Your friend has obviously got a good eye.
Yeah.
And I'd like to know where the flea market was and if we've got time today to nip down there.
Yeah.
The exterior of this item may not look attractive, but a look at the interior will change your perception of it. The sole purpose for which it was built is a little unexpected. During the early Victorian period, the company T.J.&J. Meyer, which was owned by 3 brothers, made the item to serve as a potty during outdoor events like a picnic.
I think it's a fabulous example of early Victorian sanitary manufacturing. So let's take a look at how it works. This is the business end of it.
A quick question. Would you buy this item if you knew what it was previously used for? Throughout the years, the pot maintained its original form without any alteration whatsoever. It valued in the range of $1,000 to $2,000. Not bad at all for a used potty bought at $30.
The artwork inside is pretty nice for it to be inside of a toilet bowl.
A saddle that was presented to the winner of the 1981 Cutting Classic in Nevada was abandoned outside on a fence post until the guest picked it up and tried to bring it back to life.
Saddles shouldn't be left out in the weather. They don't survive very long.
The cutting event was hosted by the professional poker gambler Amarillo Slim. Cutting is a popular sport in Texas, which started as far back as 1898. The sport requires the competitor to separate at least 2 cattle from its herd and prevent it from returning. The saddle itself was made by Oliver Saddlery, but its connection to the famous poker player made it stand out with a value between
probably $800 to $1,200.
Would you reject something just because it was too fancy? We wouldn't. Her great-uncle was contracted by the government to make a camera during World War I, but unfortunately, his project got rejected on the basis of being too fancy. The camera remained in the family afterwards and was passed on to younger generations. His camera was indeed a fancy one, with features like a mahogany case, shutter release, film rolls, and a Bosch and Lomb lens. The camera was handmade, with parts purchased from camera companies.
So what's interesting about this camera is that it looks a lot like the aerial cameras that were eventually adopted by the government for military use.
In the end, his camera was a source of inspiration for the cameras that were later used. For value, it was...
I'd put this somewhere, retail, maybe in the $2,000 to $3,000 range.
Good. That's wonderful.
It's a crime for such a marvelous painting to be left hidden. The painting was done by Jack Yeats, an Irish artist whose art, Liffey Swim, won an Olympic medal in the 1924 art competition. Jack Yeats's father was an equally notable artist. Truly, the apple didn't fall far from the tree. The painting on the show still had a new look and was undamaged, thanks to the fact that it was behind the glass for so long. With the guest's decision to properly frame the painting and get it displayed at a museum, the painting will finally acquire its rightful status as an exceptional work of art to be viewed and admired by many. It was no surprise to hear the appraiser say,
This, I think, today is worth 60 to 80,000 pounds. Good Lord.
This guest unveiled a trio of Ayn Rand books, each carrying a unique connection to the famed author. Sarah, the great-grandmother, played a pivotal role as...
My great-grandmother, Sarah, was Ayn Rand's first cousin.
Wow.
And Sarah was Ayn's sponsor to the United States in the 1920s.
The three showcased books, We the Living, The Fountainhead, and Atlas Shrugged, are not only literary treasures, but carry inscriptions by Ayn Rand herself. A rare occurrence, as Rand was known to be selective in signing books. We the Living, the first published book in the United States, holds a special place as a pre-publication association copy. Considering their familial significance, it's projected to be between $20,000 to $30,000 at auction.
Thank you so much for bringing it in.
Thank you. Thank you.
One can feel the excitement as this guest shares the story behind the two clocks brought in for appraisal. The first, a staple cottage clock, boasts an alarm feature set by a brass disc. Its reversed painted glass and rosewood case make it a collectible model, likely crafted between 1885 and 1900. The second clock, a travel alarm, is designed for portability and, when wound, can accompany its owner on journeys. With German origins, this novelty clock was likely crafted around the time of World War I. Despite changing values, this holds steady at a conservative estimate of $450, while the smaller novelty clock has an estimated value of around $100.
Very nice.
Still work as well today as they did when they were first made?
First made? You can't ask for better than that.
And really a very nice find for you.
Yes.
Can you guess the price of this spectacular tea set? The tea set is an English bone china, adorned with a delightful chintz pattern. Here are some of what the appraiser has to say.
Chintz describes a pattern that's heavily floral and often repeating. It was incredibly popular in England in the 1950s. It waned in popularity as we got into the 70s and 80s.
The marks on the tea set unravels detail about the maker, Royal Winton Grimwades, and the pattern Somerset. With a rich history embedded in these markings, an extra layer of appreciation is added to this tea set, sending its current value to be between $400 and $600 at auction.
That's great, because I'm not selling it.
This Leroy Neiman illustration has a unique history. Known for his vibrant depictions of sports events, famous personalities, and his role as a Playboy magazine illustrator, Neiman's versatility and popularity come to the forefront. The guest reveals that
Hugh Hefner had donated this and the magazine to back up the story behind it about 35 years ago. And we were at the charity auction and decided to go ahead and bid on it and won it.
Wow.
the illustration was created for an article by Neiman about his travels to Morocco, featuring a contrast between a young American woman and a Moroccan woman. It was published in the January 1970 issue of Playboy under the title East Meets West. Originally, this piece was acquired for around $300, but now the piece is valued at approximately $10,000.
Really? I paid.
Yeah,
That's
so you did
wonderful.
very well.
Oh, yes.
Here we have a collection of flip books dating back to the owner's childhood. The owner's flip book collection covers a wide range of subjects, from baseball collectibles to iconic characters like Howdy Doody. The appraiser highlights the versatility of flip books.
The very early sort of animations. Well, what's interesting is these were used for a lot of different reasons.
A notable piece in the collection is the Chicago Pocket Movies, capturing action photos of baseball legend Ernie Banks. The guest also brought a personalized flip book titled,
So we got the Antiques Roadshow flip book by the flippist, and that's you.
The animation playfully features the appraiser, Lee and Les, and even a cameo by the toy guy, Wind Up Wahlberg. Can you guess how much this piece is going for?
I know that some of these are really valuable, some are really old. It's got to be a couple $1,000s worth of flip books, and that's a lot of flipping.
All right, it is a lot of flipping.
Our next guest comes along with a unique family heirloom.
This used to be my great-grandfather's, and my grandfather inherited it. He didn't know what it was, so he thought it was a tool, and it was in his toolbox. And when he passed, we were going through his things, and
The firearm, a creation of the Chicago Arms Company with a limited production of less than 13,000 units, is a collector's item. Operating on a palm squeeze action, this concealable protector was designed for personal safety. When we talk about functionality,
So it operated with a rotary system inside, and we have 7 chambers. You'd have to load them one at a time, rotate the chamber, and keep going until you were full. And then once you were done, you could start firing.
dating back to the late 19th century, the pistol bears a patent date post-1893, placing its manufacturing period between 1895 and 1900. The pistol is estimated to fetch around
A gun like this would retail at a gun show easily $2,000.
wow.
These Lone Ranger and Tonto life-size posters were popularized by the 1950s television show. What set these posters apart was the inclusion of the original mailing envelope, adding a unique provenance to these cherished relics. The thrill of receiving life-sized images of their heroes, the Lone Ranger and Tonto, made these posters a cherished possession. Despite their age and gentle wear, these artifacts retain significant value due to their scarcity. Even with minor imperfections, the Lone Ranger and Tonto posters hold an estimated value of $1,200 to $1,800.
Wow, even with the slight tears.
Even with the slight tears.
This exquisite Art Deco piece that once belonged to the guest father was acquired in Aspen, Colorado in 2001 and radiates a bright and shiny allure. This Art Deco piece is a rare find with its distinct Chicago influence. The vibrant, attention-grabbing design embodies the essence of American 20th century Art Deco.
Of American 20th century design, which has become very popular, especially amongst younger collectors.
The piece stands out for its flamboyant shapes and colors, reflecting the boldness of the Art Deco era. The piece was acquired for $3,000, but now goes for $2,500 to $4,500.
Okay, cool.
Take a good look at the 1976 Playboy Bunny of the Year costume and accompanying trophy. The owner, Candy, shares her experiences as a Playboy bunny.
I have a long history with Playboy. I started at the St. Louis Playboy Club, transferred to the Chicago Club, lived in the mansion when Hef was in residence. I've done 8 covers for Playboy.
The bunny costume is an embodiment of the 1976 Playboy Bunny of the Year accolade. Candy's trophy, adorned with signatures from celebrities like O.J. Simpson, Ringo Starr, and others, adds a layer of prestige. As regards to this complete set,
What struck me the most about your suit is that when they do come up for auction, I've never seen one in such complete condition. You have every piece of it. That makes it pretty extraordinary, and I've never seen silver lame. Most of them come up are the primary satin colors.
Right.
the value ranges from $8,200 to $11,300.
Whoa, that's awesome!
And I actually think it's conservative because you're fabulous and your story's fabulous, and you even have the cufflinks on your cuffs, you have the bow tie, you have the story, you've got your name badge, and it's just so wonderful to meet one in context with the person who
Oh my
wore
God,
it.
thank you, Laura. That is thrilling.
Next is a subpoena from the historic protest and anti-war movements that shook Chicago in 1968. Let's get some insight for this.
We were walking with a group of people from Lincoln Park who were pretty good. There were only like 2 cops minding them keeping them on the sidewalk.
Right.
But when Division got to LaSalle Street, a whole bunch of cops came running around the corner.
This remarkable document is a subpoena adorned with the signatures of the Chicago 7, a souvenir from the guest trial testimony. This document holds a strong historical significance, capturing a pivotal moment in American protest history. The estimated auction value of this is $5,000 to $7,000. Recognizing its irreplaceable nature, the appraiser suggests,
as an auction estimate, I would insure it for about $10,000.
Really?
The spotlight is on an intriguing Parian ware statue this time around. Exploring the replica's uncanny resemblance to the person it portrays, the appraiser reveals,
and this was made possible by an invention by a man called Benjamin Cheverton, and it was called Cheverton's reducing machine.
The material, ideal for sculpting figures like this, became a staple in porcelain artistry, lasting until the brink of World War I. The sculptor, Abbot Fessett, adds a personal touch to the piece, creating an artful fusion of craftsmanship and history. Despite its historical allure and the rarity of the model, the damages incurred over time impact its appraisal value.
Unfortunately, with all that damage,
Yeah.
you'd be lucky to get £100 for him, but you might.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there we are.
Lovely. Thank you.
Now, this next guest brings his collection of Victorian posy holders. It was given as a gesture of love.
It started with my mother wearing flowers and father getting tired of the cleaning bills and bought her one. And she saw him off on embarkation leave and lost it. He never returned, and basically ever since we've been trying to find the original.
This creme de la creme of the collection of Victorian posy holders was crafted to allow young ladies to carry flowers without soiling their gloves. The collection boasts a stunning gold filigree piece with Chinese influence, a regal one with Queen Victoria's monogram, a rare Russian posy holder, and a remarkable Indian-inspired creation with intricate filigree work. The gold ones are estimated to be worth around £2,000 each, while the silver ones, adorned with mother of pearl, fall within the range of £500 to £1,000. Our next item is an unusual bohemian fountain. The collector reminisces about his purchase at an auction sale.
I believe I bought it at a sale. I used to attend auction sales.
Right. Well, it's a funny looking thing, isn't it?
It is that, but I fell for it the moment I saw it.
Crafted in Bohemia, likely Austria, around 1900, it exemplifies the fusion of pottery and glassworks. The region's prolific glass industry, boasting around 300 glassworks, played a significant role in shaping this unique piece. Despite the appearance of metal, the fountain is, in fact, earthenware, meticulously painted to simulate bronze, a common practice in Austria during that era. What could the price of this gem be?
And what did you say it was worth?
I'd say anywhere around $300, it may even make £500
Yes.
plus.
This is the legendary Elfego Baca, a figure known for its roles as a gunman, lawman, and politician during the closing days of the Wild West. Elfego Baca, a famed figure, served as a lawman, lawyer, and eventually ventured into politics, running for Congress in 1912 when New Mexico became a state. The guest shares anecdotes about Elfego Baca's life, including,
this is his wife Crucita with the boys. He was like a famous gunman, like a lawyer, a lawman in New Mexico. And he was involved in the Frisco shootout in 1884, which they made Disney movies about.
Focusing on these two rare pinback buttons from Elfego Baca's congressional campaign, let's hear what the value of these pieces are in the market today.
Because of the importance of these buttons and the rarity, we would estimate these two buttons to sell at auction for $2,500.
Oh my goodness. Wow. That's shocking.
Do you have any idea how much this Navajo bridle is worth?
I purchased this bridle approximately 30 years ago. The person I purchased was the granddaughter.
The grandfather in question was...
Her grandfather had obtained the bridle. He was an Indian scout, and he had a Navajo friend who gave the grandfather the bridle.
The bridle was initially purchased for $2,000. A closer look at the Navajo bridle highlights its rare Mexican ring bit, engraved plaques, and distinctive Naha, a Moorish symbol with a fascinating cross-cultural journey. Recognizing the bridle's exceptional age and craftsmanship,
They're not collected
quite like some of the other things on the market, but I think it would easily bring $10,000 to $15,000 at auction.
Wow. Well, great. Well, thank you.
Which of these items did you like the most? Do let us know in the comments section.